welcome. Thank you for joining me at the table. I'm Thomas Dodderwick, and this week, once again, I have the pleasure of sitting down with Becky Pugh, the Director of Mission Advancement for the Diocese of Great Falls-Billings. Becky, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me again. I'm happy to be here.
We just had you a couple of weeks ago talking about Announcement Weekend and the theme for the annual Catholic Appeal for this year. And we're having you back again because we've got more to talk about, don't we?
We do. Because now the annual Catholic Appeal for 2024 has kicked off and we are officially in active campaign season.
When did that happen?
That actually just happened this past weekend on February 3rd and 4th. We had our first commitment weekend. There will be a second commitment weekend later in April. But yeah, we just kicked off.
While the formal kickoff in the parishes just happened, the 2 weeks leading up to that, you were pretty busy also with doing some behind the scenes stuff.
Yes. So we actually had 2 weeks worth of St. Matthias Giving Circle Mass and dinner celebrations to help kind of launch the campaign on a good foot. So we held 5 of those dinners, one in each of the vicariates throughout the diocese.
How are we looking? I know that you are still in the process of putting in all of the data that we've gotten, but I know you also have a snapshot of where you might think we might be sitting.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. We actually kicked off the weekend with about $200,000 and another additional $25,000 has come in. So right now we're sitting somewhere around $225,000 and we just started. So that's a really good sign. Mm-hmm. We're crossing fingers. We're going to hit the goal this year.
And remind us what that goal is.
The goal is 1.7 million across the diocese. And again, those are commitments. Right now, we're just asking everybody to commit to giving sometime before the end of the year. 12/31/2024. I can't even believe we're saying 2024.
It is hard to believe. Now, when does we talked about the active campaign now is in full swing. How long does this go? Because even though we may have talked about it a little bit last year, folks are still used to this just going all year.
They are. And so one of the things that we did when we made the change to the annual Catholic Appeal is we wanted to have a clearly defined start date and a clearly defined end date. Mm-hmm. And we didn't want to have people feeling like we were asking all year long and they weren't getting a break from it. And then you just roll into the next year and everything kind of jumbles together. So what we did is, again, we're starting on the first weekend of February every year, and then we end on Memorial Day weekend. So we end in May. It's 16 weeks long, but that gives us a chance to really talk about all of the ministries that this supports. It gives us a chance to, gives me a chance to go out to various parishes and visit and get to talk to parishioners and speak at masses and just share a little bit more about the annual Catholic Appeal. But it really kind of gives time for true discernment about what your gift might be and prayerful consideration.
In our last video just a couple weeks ago, we really highlighted some of those special projects that this funds. Additionally, our ACA video highlights some of those projects that are funded through those ministries that are funded through the ACA. This time, let's talk a little bit about how we can give, because we have a lot of different options.
We do. And I think people don't always understand or realize just how many different options there are. We want to make this easy for you to give. And so people can do a number of things. They can give a one-time lump sum. Now, that can be given now, or it can be given later. And I just want to emphasize that, because while we're asking for that commitment right now, you still have through December 31st, 2024 to give. Really important in a diocese like ours, because if you're a farmer or a rancher, or just your bills and your money is set up in a certain way, you might be able to make that commitment but not give until maybe the fall. Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure that everybody knows you can give a lump sum now, you can give a lump sum later. What we found is a lot of people want to give a large amount, but they find that they can give even more if they break that up into installments. So maybe you want to give $2,000 and you're going to do that through 10 payments of $200 or 4 payments of $500, whatever you want to do. You can set that up to do that whatever fits your financial needs the best. And then we also have our monthly sustaining donors, and that's really cool. So our sustaining donors give a certain amount of money every month. It's just an automatic thing. And that's really useful for the diocese, because then we have an idea of how much to expect each month. It kind of makes sure that we're getting money throughout the year. Right now we get a bunch of money up at the front of the year, but then as the year goes on, we're having less and less income coming in. So those sustaining donors who give on a monthly basis really help to kind of sustain us all the way through, and give us more of a steady income.
Early on in this conversation, you mentioned that you were out doing the St. Matthias dinners. Talk a little bit about what that is.
So I'm really excited about our St. Matthias Giving Circle. It was established in 2022, and what we wanted to do is to really recognize the people who were making large donations. They are giving contributions that are $1,000 or more to the annual Catholic Appeal specifically within a calendar year. Now, we're not saying that the $5 gifts are not important. However, part of why we wanted to recognize the St. Matthias givers is because they really are what enabled us to make the change from a care and share appeal where we had assessments to a true appeal where we're just trusting our Catholic family to give. And so with the St. Matthias Giving Circle, we recognize, again, those donors that give $1,000 or more in a single calendar year. Now, in 2023, we had 458 members of that circle. That actually only equates to 3% of the diocese, just 3%. Wow. However, that 3% gives more than 50% of what we collect each year. And I'm going to say that statistic one more time because I'm a numbers nerd. But I think it's really important to think about is that 3% of the diocese is giving over 50% of what we need in order to run our ministries and programs and services. And so with that in mind, we wanted to just recognize them. We wanted to acknowledge that they are what helped us make that change, because it's so essential for some of our smaller parishes that aren't able to meet those assessments. So when we did our St. Matthias Mass and dinner, a lot of people asked, well, why are you doing that? Including members of the St. Matthias Circle. They were like, I don't want my money to go to dinner. I don't need a dinner. I don't need recognition. But the biggest thing that we wanted to do is to be able to say thank you to all of them. We wanted to make sure that they understood how important those donations were. And that as 3% of the diocese, they're contributing 50%, explaining to them where that money is going and asking them to continue to contribute at that level or maybe to increase just a little bit more. We also asked them to really be the leaders in the diocese for kicking off the annual Catholic Appeal so that we could let everybody in the diocese know, hey, we're starting off with $200,000, which is just a really cool thing to be able to have the very first weekend.
You did talk about the monthly sustaining givers, and we do have a new giving circle for those folks.
Yes, and so this year we launched the St. Pius X Faithful Stewards, which is a second giving circle. One of the things that we had heard from people with the launch of the St. Matthias Giving Circle is that they would like to be a part of a recognized group. However, they maybe didn't have the financial means to do it. And let's be honest, $1,000 is a generous contribution, and not everybody is going to have the ability to do that. So what we did is we took our other patron saint in St. Pius X and created the Faithful Stewards Circle. That is simply, you become part of that circle simply by donating monthly on an ongoing basis without an end date. So that means you're saying, I'm going to commit $20 a month from now until I tell you to stop. Now, they still have total control over it.
Sure.
It's not for the rest of your life. If you can't handle it, you can change the amount to go up, to go down, to stop. But we really just wanted to say thank you and recognize people who were giving on a monthly basis.
So just to recap, or to drive the point a little further, there's a difference between those who make a commitment of, say, $500, but are going to pay that monthly for this calendar year, and those who are part of the St. Pius Faithful Stewards.
Correct. And you'll actually notice that on the commitment card this year. We wanted to also make that card just a little bit simpler, have all of the options explained. And so you have the option to give monthly through December or to give monthly until you tell us to stop. The St. Pius X Faithful Stewards are those who are giving monthly until they tell us to stop. Now, we understand situations can change. You never know when you have an emergency or your financial picture changes. We get that, we understand, and there is no judgment or shame in that. So you do always have full control of your donation. But we wanted to make sure to recognize those people who are doing that just on an ongoing basis. They're saying, I support the diocese and I'm just going to give this to you monthly.
Before establishing the Faithful Stewards, there were a number of our parishioners and Catholic families of Eastern Montana already doing that.
Yes.
We just went through a transition in how we process those, and so somebody might be watching saying, my gifts, I'm already in, I'm good. I don't need to worry about it. Is that true?
So no, it's not, unfortunately. Now, from this point forward, we should be good again. But if you were giving on an ongoing basis, and we had 229 of those is what I believe that we were at, which is wonderful. Yeah. So 229 people were doing that. However, we did end up needing to change our online giving platform. We found a platform that was much more reliable, much more user-friendly, much more cost-effective, and we're always trying to be good stewards, both with the money that is given, but then also making it easy for people. With that change, we have to re-enter everybody. And so you might have noticed that your January contribution didn't come out last month. And so if you want to call me, we can get that set up and running again, or they can actually go online and set it up themselves. What's really exciting about this new platform is that now online, not only can we accept your credit cards online, but we can actually accept your checks online. And so you can set up your checks without having to go through me.
In addition to just these outright gifts that we've been talking about, let's say that, my money's a little tight right now, but I've got this pile of stocks and bonds sitting over in the corner that I don't even know what to do with because I'm not smart enough to understand stocks and bonds. They might be useful to the diocese because they're not useful to me because I don't get them. Can I give them to you? Yes.
So we have a variety of ways that you can actually give beyond just a check. That can include IRAs. You can do a qualified distribution to the diocese. If you have stocks that you wish to give, you can do that, or mutual funds. We also accept grain and livestock for a lot of our farmers and ranchers. They just think, well, let me give, a bushel of wheat, or I'm going to give one truckload of grain in the equivalent, of course. Sure. But you can give grain and livestock. And so there are a variety of ways to give outside of just a check itself. And so I would encourage people to take a look at the brochure this year. It lists, I think, 6 or 8 different ways that you can give, and to check those out. And then if they have more questions on how to do that, to just give me a call here at the diocese.
So you're telling me I can't donate a cow through the online giving system?
I think that's the one thing that we haven't quite been able to figure out, but you're our tech guru, so, we'll just ask Thomas to figure that out.
Now, we've been talking about money. Is money the only way that I can contribute to the annual Catholic Appeal?
No. The biggest thing that I actually ask for is if people can pray. Can people pray for the success of the appeal, the success of the diocese and the mission that we're working on? Prayer is powerful. Prayer is very powerful. So praying is one way. Another way is to be part of the movement, to talk about the appeal, to talk about the programs. If you're somebody who has been blessed through one of the programs, maybe you're a parish that had busted water pipes because of the frozen weather, and Jerry came out and helped. but your parishioners don't know that. And Jerry doesn't charge to come and help with that. So can you stand up at Mass and speak about that and share how the ministries and the programs of the diocese work? Perhaps you sent your child off to St. Thomas Summer Camp and got a scholarship to support that. Or your child is going to Catholic school and you know that we're supporting Catholic schools. Can you share that message with other people and talk to other people about the good work that we're doing within the diocese? And then just being part of that mission to go make disciples.
Becky, is there anything else you'd like to share about the 2024 Annual Catholic Appeal?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this year. Once again, I'm actually going to be traveling across the diocese all through the spring. Basically, every weekend for the foreseeable future, I'm going out and visiting parishes. And so I'd encourage you all to take a look at the schedule and see if maybe I'm coming to your parish. I would love to meet you, visit with you, hear your thoughts and your feedback on the appeal. And then I just really want to tell everybody thank you. Thank you for their support over the last 2 years. This has been a transition. There still are people who don't really realize that we're not in that old care and share format anymore. But really, we trusted the people of Eastern Montana to give what they can give, whatever that might be. Maybe push just a little bit more to give just a little bit more this year. But we've seen that grow each year. So 2 years ago, 1.3 million. Last year, 1.62 million. We're really hoping that we reach that 1.7 or more this year. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your contributions and your gifts. We really just couldn't do this without each of you.
On a closing note, in everyone's packet or in everyone's parish, there are prayer intention cards.
Yes.
Do those just go to the shredder when they get here, or what happens to those?
They don't go to the shredder. I actually just had a visit with Bishop Jeff this morning, and he told me that he has a stack this big already. So you will notice a prayer intention card where Bishop Jeff is actually asking you specifically to please send him any requests for prayers that you have. And when he receives those, he reads every single one of them. And then he actually places them in a basket under the altar at his chapel in his home. And he prays over those each time he celebrates Mass in his home. So you will have those intentions prayed for throughout the year. And I just think what a cool thing to do. And what a great opportunity for me to know that our bishop is praying for the things that I'm asking him to pray for.
And honestly then, bringing it full circle, this campaign's more than about money. We really are about praying for each other, praying for the success of our diocese, but also us on the pastoral team and the bishop praying for those who are supporting us in ministry.
Absolutely. It really is go make disciples, and that is something that involves all of us working together to really live out the mission of Jesus.
Becky, thank you for taking time today to visit about the Annual Catholic Appeal, and I look forward to hearing the stories of your travels over the months ahead.
Thanks so much for having me.